Chapter 24, Working with Vendors. In this chapter, we will discuss the vendor selection process a little more. When working with vendors, it is the best situation for you if you allow each vendor to present their product under the best conditions possible with unbiased views from your team. When you limit the vendor's ability to compete and present information, you are actually limiting yourself and your facility from understanding their technology. Choosing a vendor includes many factors, including product and service offering from that vendor, the company history, financial feasibility of obtaining the product, evaluation of technology, and the clinical impact to a department. So I'll talk a little bit about the sales strategy and relationships. So you need to be able to have the vendor understand the department. So the members of the department provide key information into the purchase decision. They'll need to know who is the main supporter or who will be the main decision maker for this for the actual project. You should provide insight to the vendor into key areas of why your site is purchasing the technology. You should explain the existing vendor preferences and the perception of the vendor that they currently use. Do they like the vendor that they have? Do they not like the vendor that they have? That will give the competing vendors for the new project an idea of the way that your facility feels. And you should also define the current and the desired workflow for your facility. You should let the vendor know the key decision makers, so they provide the most influence when acquiring technology. The key decision makers have direct influence over the decision to actually make the purchase. This is what the vendors are concerned about, who will be making the purchase. The individuals who influence the decision of which vendor to purchase from may not even be within the radiology department. It makes sense for the main decision maker to be the CFO sometimes, since they'll be the ones actually dealing with the budget and the money provided to be able to buy the product. From a vendor's point of view, it is absolutely essential that they understand the obstacles to be able to position themselves better and to show how they can help overcome these pain points better than any other vendor can, why they should win this deal. So there is a thing called a request for information. This is an RFI. It is used to determine which vendors will compete in an opportunity. It usually includes information about the customer, such as just general info about the company, the product portfolio, and the customer's experience in the relevant field. It is used as an evaluation to determine if the vendor's product matches the needs of the customer. So the vendors view the RFI to see if their technology or product is even viable for a site or for a department. So a vendor isn't even going to go after a deal if the RFI is something that is maybe in need of a product that they don't even carry in their line. The goal of an RFI is to receive the request for proposal, the RFP. The request for proposal may request information related to the company, the products and services offered, and the pricing for the product of interest. The RFP will also provide specific information regarding the facility or organization, that will be evaluating the technology, including facilities involved, volume of exams, technology infrastructure, and the workflow. So who responds to an RFP? The sales staff, marketing staff, and RFP specialists if a vendor's company has them. It could be a combination of these three groups. It just depends on the size of the company and their infrastructure. So the RFP questions, they usually are the same questions that appear in every RFP that the vendor sees, so they're very used to this. They usually have general answers that they will answer every RFP for, or every question on the RFP for different sites. So they're actually very common questions. An RFP does include pricing quotes. So the quotes based on volume are easy for a vendor to answer because the volume or the number of users are usually just in general easy questions for a facility to answer. Whatever quote is given on the RFP, this is rarely the final quote that the company receives from the vendor of choice. A vendor of choice is the preferred vendor based on any initial information given to an organization. So it is what an organization may up front have a bias to. But it is important to not be biased and still make sure that the initial vendor of choice is the best option to go with once all the information has been collected. So, for example, if let's say a hospital, before they actually send out an RFP, they just think that they're going to go with GE just because stuff they have heard in the background and chatter in the field, they have heard that GE has the best product. When they actually go and collect information from different vendors, though, it is important to not be completely biased towards GE because maybe Philips actually has the best product or any other vendor out there. It is important to keep an open mind. So vendors take part in product demonstrations for their customers. These are given by professionals trained to highlight the strengths of the vendor's product. So they're usually called application specialists. The vendor hires them to be able to show the potential customer how their product works and, of course, lets the customer know the strengths of the product. The vendors customize each demo towards each site's workflow. So if they're giving 2 different demos in the same week to 2 different hospitals, they don't necessarily give the same demo to both hospitals. They have to know exactly what each hospital wants and what the needs and infrastructures are for each hospital and be able to tailor the demonstration to each site. Site visits are a very important part of the process of picking a vendor or a product. And you will be talking about the site visit in your major project. So in a site visit, key stakeholders of an organization travel to show sites that already use the product so that they can see it in a live environment. So maybe a hospital in Toledo, if they're looking at a product and the closest product that is being used by a hospital is in Cleveland, they will go to Cleveland, see how the product that they are looking at is actually used by that hospital, and see what they think of it. The show site is the hospital that is actually showing or they're hosting the site visit. So they already use the product, they've already bought from the vendor, and they usually have strong leadership, well-trained employees, and high user satisfaction. So a vendor is not going to use a hospital as a show site if they are not happy with their product. They don't want that hospital telling another potential customer that they don't like the product. So a show site is always going to be happy with the product they're using if a vendor is going to use them as a show site. So there are goals of site visits. One goal is to show successful integration with other systems. So, maybe show how the PACS works with the dictation system or with the RIS or the HIS. To review the clinical workflow is another goal, and to discuss the installation process. How long does it take? Is it, invasive process? Is it something that is going to be easy? That kind of stuff is discussed when a potential site is seeing if they want to purchase a new product. Another goal is to discuss the support and maintenance of the product. So why should a hospital host a site visit? What is in it for them? It takes time out of their day to show another hospital how they use the product. Usually they get perks. They get monetary perks, service and support perks, or maybe product enhancements. So as far as monetary goes, they can get discounts for future purchases or maybe donations to a gala that they are having as a fundraiser from the vendor. For services and support, they could get enhances in the actual support and maintenance contract, and their site may get listed maybe as a priority site if they have any service issues or downtime issues. Priority site just means that they are bumped to the top of the list if they are down or have a problem with their product, and the issues will usually get fixed sooner than with normal sites. As far as product enhancements go, a show site may get to know any special technologies that may be on the vendor's horizon that other sites aren't privy to yet, so they can kind of have the inside information. And they may also get to put their 2 cents in with the vendor for any future modifications that they feel are needed with the system, so they can actually give their feedback to the vendor and be listened to. I want to talk briefly about product development. It involves the market direction. So the market direction is an outside factor or a combination of outside factors that influence the development or enhancements of a certain technology. Vendors must understand what influences the market direction. So market direction is just basically what are the customers wanting out there now. Client requests is another important part of the product development. Vendors receive many product enhancement requests. So just like I talked about on the last slide with the show sites, kind of giving their 2 cents about what they think should be an enhancement to the product in the future. Products change and evolve as time goes on, and the vendors evaluate all the requests relating to the existing product functionality, scope of change, and the impact of changes to other users of the product. The product release cycle is the process and duration to update and publish the releases to a product. So it's how long it takes for the actual changes to occur with a product. The product release cycles vary by product as well as by vendor. When you are looking at a vendor, make sure you are aware of how frequently they come out with a new version of the product you are investigating and what the upgrade path is. So if they come out with a new product every 3 months, by the time you actually purchase a product, because of all the time of how long it takes to actually do the investigation and see if you actually want the product, a newer product will probably be out for that vendor. So make sure that you are okay with their timeline. The product release cycle usually depends on how big the company is, the development platform, the number of engineers the company has to work on the product release cycle, and also the regulatory agency requirements.